A recent study shows that 57% of people believe they can survive a zombie apocalypse. And while I already don't believe those people, let's raise the stakes a bit. Instead of a zombie apocalypse, let's place you in the world of Look Outside, a verse where a cosmic entity transforms your neighbors into amalgamations you can't even fathom. What percentage chance do you have of surviving? Well, with an exceptionally professional Excel sheet I put together and parameters I've set for this video, we'll find out if your chances of survival are lower than 57% or closer to the number of people who are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, which is a number you can change with just the click of a button. Let's go ahead and start at the tippy top of our apartment building and knock off the easiest room we're gonna see. We're talking about Sam's apartment, the literal safe haven in a horror game. There are no dangers here unless you create them. To put it simply, if we were playing bingo, this would be your free spot. 100% survival chance. But the same can't be said for the next room, which is Vincent's apartment. We're not near 100% here. I know you can't see all of them, but there are at least 8 sentient beings that want you dead in this apartment. And I know I am not talking to Madara or Garu, so reverse jumping is not in your bag. And the sheer number of adversaries is too steep of a hill for you to climb, I think. I'm giving you a 30% chance of survival. I would go lower, but there's some actual demon rooms on this list, and the tutorial apartment ain't one of those rooms. Look, there's a knife-wielding neighbor in the bathroom that you have to fight. And unfortunately for you, knives are super effective when they come in contact with human flesh. So you're looking at about a sub 10% survival rate until we account for the fact that Look Outside hands you a bat. And seeing as though that you've been hitting the gym recently, I like your odds here. So accounting for the bathroom brawler and the 2 other adversaries in this apartment, I think you have about a 60% chance of survival. And unfortunately, we also have to account for the last 3 rooms on floor 3, because these bad boys are about to tank your average something fierce. Luis's apartment, that guy's a literal dragon now. And even if you do somehow manage to beat him on the first go, he keeps splitting and splitting and splitting. Every one of his limbs comes back to fight you post-mortem. 0% chance of survival. The astronomer room, housed by one of my most hated enemies in this game, the Stargazer. The beast only spawns when the lights are cut off. So I can imagine you're thinking the most logical action to take is to never turn the lights off. And honestly, that's not a bad idea. See, veteran players know that a power outage is almost guaranteed in any run in Look Outside. However, that can only occur after you defeat the elevator freak. So do the lights ever cut off? I also think it isn't far-fetched to assume the lights would cut off for any other reason. So since I'm split down the middle on the topic, I'm giving you a 50% chance of surviving the astronomer apartment. The teeth residence, 0%. Don't think I really need to explain that one. And the taxidermy apartment is the trickiest one of them all, because theoretically, if you just sat still and didn't touch anything, you could survive pretty easily. But the main boss usually attacks you once you come back from exploring the deepest parts of the apartment. But who's to say that once you spent 5 consecutive days in this room, the battle wouldn't ensue anyway? I think it's pretty likely, but seeing as that's just speculation, I think you have about a 40% chance to survive in the taxidermy apartment. But let's flip the script. Let's go down to the 2nd floor and raise your percentages a bit. Eugene's shop and Harriet's apartment are 2 easy 100% survival rate. Also, Lyle's apartment, not a bad place to spend 15 days. Even though there are threats, and Lyle himself can be a threat if you get on his bad side. You're starting off in good grace with Lyle, so all you really have to do is be nice to him, and I'm positive he would put his life on the line to stop anybody from hurting the person he loves the most. I'm thinking about an 80% chance of survival here. Jeanne's apartment, you're dead. This woman transforms into a beast with multiple heads, of which she has 0 control over, and they are strong enough to take on 1 or 2 grown individuals while they're fighting you. And if it wasn't bad enough, they're in every room in her apartment. Every one. We're talking Murasaki Bara level of defensive range. You're dead. 0% chance. You want to hear about another room that you have 0% chance of surviving? The water room. Listen, aside from having to hold your breath for 15 full days, you would at some point have to fight the literal concept of drowning. How do you fight a concept? The only person I've ever seen do that is Baki Hanma, and I'm fairly certain he'd probably lose this fight too. 0% chance of survival. Now, the typewriter's apartment is an interesting one, because even though the typewriter's aggressive, he's kind of slow. So avoiding him, I don't think would be that much of an issue. However, He has a busted ability. Essentially, he has somewhat of a Heaven's Door ability from part 4 of JoJo's. Like, he could literally write in his book that you're being poisoned and it'll happen. So I think 30% is pretty reasonable. And to finish off the second floor, we have Dan's apartment. Now, the main theory to ponder in this scenario is, does the mom still attack us if Dan never leaves the apartment? Because the only reason Dan leaves in the first place is to find friends, but we're already there. Look, I think it's a safe assumption to say Dan doesn't leave if we're already living with him, but the mom is still fused with furniture and is a freak now. Sorry, Dan. I think chances are pretty favorable, so I'm gonna go 60% survival rate. And with that, we're on to our last elevation, the first floor. The area of the game that's gonna make your percentage look almost as bad as Kung Fu Panda 4 did. The rat den, you're dead. Bunch of rats, all hostile because you can't get the rat crown. 0% chance of survival. For all my plant lovers out there, we got Helen's apartment that you can happily die in. They got too many variations of adversaries in there. They got a ribcage plant, they got a mossy freak, they got human plant hybrids. Take your pick. How you want to go out? 0% chance of survival. The rat kid's apartment is kind of like a diet version of the rat den. Sure, there are rat adversaries there, but they're not nearly as dangerous or big as the ones in the rat den. I think you have a chance to at least get through a good amount of days here. So I'm gonna say you got about a 35% chance to survive. Now, I'm sure people who've played the game are thinking, oh man, I'm gonna just stay with Ernest. I'm all good. No, you're not. The rats from Rat Hell literally kidnap Ernest, and Colonel Squeakums can do nothing about it. And once you see just how deep those rats are, if you add you to the equation, you're also not doing anything about it. So I'm sorry to say, and this actually sucks, because I thought this would be like a safe haven, but if you stay with Ernest, say it with me, guys, you have a 0% chance of survival. And finally, on the first floor, we have Fred's apartment. Now, I'm going to tell you the percentage right now is about an 80% chance of survival. And let me explain why. The Freds aren't necessarily hostile. Face Stealer Fred, he doesn't become hostile until you call him out on his BS. The Fred with many legs also does not become hostile until you accuse him of not being the real Fred and actively attack him. Tumor Fred just sits in the bathroom and moans and groans. Sounds like me after I had dairy. But are you starting to see the pattern? The only Fred that actively attacks you is Shadow Fred, and that's because he's scared. Everybody else is pretty dormant, even Fred who bites, because in order for him to attack you, you have to step into his range. But if you leave him alone, he's as harmless as all the others. So this place is pretty favorable, which is why I think 80% is solid. And finally, because it technically qualifies to be talked about, we have the landlord's apartment on the ground floor. If you stay in the first area, you could theoretically make it all 15 days. The first fight that you have to participate in, you have a lot of help from Mr. Henderson, who kind of doesn't need your help in this fight. But once those are cleared off, there are no more immediate threats. The landlord transforms into a money-hungry mutant, but he's not hostile. So if you stay in the first area, I can definitely see a way for you to make it to the end of this challenge. But the second you cross over that threshold and start getting deeper into the apartment, you're dead. So I think a 45% chance of survival is pretty valid for the landlord's apartment. And with all our data collected, it's time to see what percentage chance you have of surviving the world of Look Outside. All we have to do is perform a simple I can't spell, close it, and you, my friend, have a what? And now you, my friend, have exactly a 41% chance of surviving the world of Look Outside. Those aren't the best numbers. Now, obviously, we could have raised it by adding certain rooms, but I didn't want to be cheap and just add like 1 block rooms, you know what I'm saying? Like the closet that Aurelia stays in, that's not a room. You know, I wanted places to have depth to them, you know what I'm saying? To be honest, I don't think 57% of people are living through a zombie apocalypse, so I think this is about solid. I don't know, there's room for debate, but I'll tell you what's not up for debate. My appreciation for you making it to the end of this video. Your attention means the world to me. And if you want more Look Outside content, popping up right here on the screen. But with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out your way. It's been your boy Gamelinks, and I will see you in the next video. I'm out.